Mishmash, if that is your real name. I challenge you to a kitbash. 'Tis a Christmas kitbash. There shall be 2 colours in the final paint scheme, red and green, very Christmassy. It shall include at least 1 Christmas present. You can use miniatures from any range. It can be any size, as small or as large as you want. 17th of December is the final, and it shall be voted on by my Patreon members. Good luck. Merry Christmas. And happy kitbashing. End transmission.
Well, this is just uncalled for and it's preposterous.
What, you don't want to be a part of this?
No, of course my name is Mishmash.
That's your actual birth name.
Yes.
Huh. Whatever you say, man. Good luck.
They must never know. Well, it's around that time of year again. I'm in my hobby space, freezing my ass off, and I'm still going at it. I was elated when I got Mr. Lizard's invitation, and after I heard the rules of the Kit Bash, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. My favorite horde shooter of all time is Killing Floor, and I'm talking about the first one. The holiday event holds a super special place in my heart, and I remember all the late nights I spent playing with a group of friends. The holiday monstrosities really lend well to the bits that I had, and they were incredibly imaginative, so I figured I'd go for that. This gave me an opportunity to show off my amazing, brilliant green stuff skills. If you couldn't tell, it's been a while. Though I feel like with making the snowman and gingerbread guy, I kinda worked to my advantage. They're not exactly super sharp detailed physiques. I will say it was a bit rough getting reacquainted with how much green stuff sags. I had to redo so many areas. It's pretty obvious that I used the Gellerpox-infected character for the gingerbread man, but the snowman was really weird. This is an old ghoul kit that I got from way back in the day from the Nolzur's line. I guess I started painting him and then I just gave up and threw him in the bits bin, but I think that extra layer of paint worked to my advantage. A huge MVP of this entire kit bash was the Gene Stealer cult bits, and the Tyrannid ones. I think the Gene Cult Acolytes are probably my favorite GW kit of all time. For the base, I had this old Age of Sigmar rectangle base, and I used a lot of cork. As you can see, for some reason I used to use cork pieces as pallets. I don't know why, but I did. It's not like it really helped at all. I ended up using a lot of the Gothic buildings from the first Kill Team set from 2018. These Gothic buildings are very versatile, and I've gotten caught up in painting the tiny details many times. Though overall, I think limiting the amount of overall painting in this project is kinda something I have to do. I had plenty of time to work on this project. It was just balancing out all the videos that I had been doing for the past few weeks, and on top of it, just getting everything prepped for it. Not that I'm unhappy with the overall paint job of this project. I just know that it could have been better if I had a little bit more time. I am happy to say that I finished this project in under a week, and it helps that I incorporated my previous project into this video. I told you to look out for this jolly old bastard, and as kind of a warning, I should tell you guys now, not a lot of the painting was caught on footage. I had a lot of projects that I had to work on in terms of editing to begin with, and on top of it, I just got lost in this piece and I wanted to enjoy it for myself. Hence why this video is more or less a tour of the entire piece itself. As you can see, with all the parts I'd laid out over time, I ended up making a kind of destroyed Santa's workshop. I ended up using all kinds of parts for this project. I used the floor base from a Rhino. I ended up using a lot of pieces of GW terrain. The Manufactorium and the Mechanicus Battle Zone played a huge part in this piece. I'd use some circuit board wire too, just to add on to the terrain. And the Gellerpox infected tentacles I wanted to have coming through the window here. It doesn't exactly have anything to do with Christmas, and it kinda has something to do with Killing Floor. I just thought it would be a really cool visual. I wanted to make some corrupted elves, and I used the Khador gang parts and some Dark Eldar heads. Dark Eldar heads are pretty self-explanatory, being that they already are evil elves. But I thought the Khador gang parts really made them all work. It just looks like a humiliating outfit that they tarnish on purpose. For the Christmas presents, I actually learned a pretty cool trick by just using some tinfoil, and I'd end up wrapping up some of these boxes and some Space Marine weapons. All I did to paint them was just spray on some transparent colors from Vallejo, and then I just shaded them with some inks. This little holiday backdrop was kind of a weird last-minute thing that I decided on. Truth be told, this thing is not meant to be viewed from behind. The original plan for this piece was supposed to be a shopping mall, so I ended up picking up some of these press molds for the green stuff. But after fiddling around with the gingerbread man and the snow guy, it just felt like it would be too much work. Not that I wanted to be lazy, I just wasn't confident that it would look good. But I decided to take the most undesirable design in the entire set, and I'd just paint over it. Initially, this was just going to be part of a Space Marine box set that I could just paint over, but I found the material far too flimsy and it just wouldn't look good. To paint this thing though, I ended up spraying it with black, and then I sprayed it from atop using a white primer. This kinda already gave this naturally fuzzy, foggy, snowy look, but to finish it off I took some Valhalla Blizzard and I ended up pinching it in my hand and just sprinkling it over. I think a question most of you are probably asking is who the hell is getting picked up by the tentacles? Well, I ended up painting this guy to make him look like some of the characters from Killing Floor, and in my effort I just ended up making him look like some weird guy with a big head. Most of the default characters are just guys with gas masks, so I felt it kinda worked. There actually were more miniatures planned for this kit, but man, I wouldn't have finished it. But just because the competition is over doesn't mean I can't stop working on this thing. Hell, maybe I'll keep adding those guys on over time, and maybe I'll just keep improving the paint job. I didn't varnish it yet, so it's up in the air right now. Painting the snowman was a lot of fun. I was really happy with how the snowman's coal buttons turned out. I ended up using a little bit of black weathering powder over the coal just to make it have that nice matte finish. And it stained a little bit of the white, and I think it looks great. Another big MVP of this entire set was a lot of UV resin. Also, make sure to wear a mask when applying this shit. There is no way that this is good for you to inhale. It really is just as simple as applying the UV light to the resin while pulling down, and making these icicles was flawless. A big part of what I used the resin for was also just pooling in this one area. After all the resin was good and adhered, I would go over all of it using a little sander, and this just made it nice and glaring. It really does look realistic in my opinion. I was hesitant to use Valhalla Blizzard because I don't remember liking it all too much, but I think for what it's worth, it worked pretty well. I did add a little bit of this to the snowman. It worked well in creating just a little more texture, and on top of it, it filled in some areas that kind of looked ugly. The last two figures I really want to go over are the BMOC himself and the Gingerbread Man. The Gingerbread Man I clearly modeled after the Killing Floor ones, so I had to do freehand candy cane lines, and that was a pain in the ass. One thing that I wish I planned out a little bit better was painting each of these miniatures separate and then adding them to the base. The candy cane itself was a mixture of freehand and just using some tape, but I wasn't exactly super duper happy with it, so I ended up covering it up with a little bit of blood, which I thought looked pretty good at the end of the day. I also ended up adding a poxwalker hand to his mouth. It looked all good and mangled, and it was just perfect. If there's one thing in particular that I really wish I went back on and put more time into, it's the Santa Marine. He really was the most late addition into this kitbash, and I wasn't exactly sure who I wanted to be the centerpiece. I knew that I wanted to add a Marine, but I wasn't sure how I wanted him to look. Initially he was going to be an M6 Corvus Marine, but I felt that the Tartaros armor just fitted better. Here I've got some clips of how I did the armor, but overall I feel like it needs its own separate tutorial, so we'll keep that in mind for the future. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the color scheme. The classic green and red just works so well. Only thing I wish I did a little bit more of was maybe some freehand and maybe some more white on the armor. Like I said, maybe I'll come back to this again. There's plenty of things that I could add, and there's plenty of things that I wanted to do, but maybe I'll use these ideas for a future diorama. Again, like I was stating previously about Valhalla Blizzard, I think this really was a super helpful thing for this piece. Being able to just sprinkle it on and add it to the top of his armor just made this whole piece feel real. And as kind of a final thing, I guess I should talk about the octopus tentacles. The way I painted it was so simplistic, and all I did was just Zenithal Prime and use some Leviathan Purple. And then I got the idea to do some dotting onto the flesh, and I just used some Vallejo Model Color Blue Violet. I thought it was going to be a tedious, painful task, but it was pretty fun actually. I will say, I'm not 100% sure on the yellow dots. I thought it would contrast well with the purple, but I'm not sure. Other than that though, I'm really happy with this thing. I'll be 110% with you, I wasn't sure I was going to get this thing done. There were plenty of times during the week that I really felt I bit off more than I could chew. And honestly, taking breaks was the biggest thing that helped me. Working on my lore video was actually pretty liberating. And if you stuck to the end to see the final result, I really appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of you were looking to this for a tutorial, but I was already kind of behind on this project, so I just wanted to do a little showcase. I can assure you though, all the methods I used for this project will be in a tutorial form sooner or later. These last two projects, being this and the flesh painting tutorial, just took so much out of me, but doing the lore video really recharged my batteries, so we'll see. Anyway, I think I've talked too much and I just want to extend a huge thank you to Lizard of Doom. I really appreciate being brought onto this competition, and it's really cool to be able to showcase my talents on a bigger platform. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm really happy to have some new mashists, mashholes, mishmongers, crawdads. I don't know, they all voted on it, but I like all of these. Anyway, like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and I got some proper tutorials coming soon. And I'll leave you with a mishmash, kitbash, and paint some fantastic miniatures. And you're gonna, I promise. See ya.